Okay, recording. Hi, everyone, and welcome to day 2 of EduWiki Week. We have a really exciting interview today with Caroline and Chakoti from the British Council, and we'll be talking about a new collaboration that the Wikimedia Foundation has with them called Skills for Success, and also just learn more about what they do and how their work aligns with the Wikimedia movement. So without further ado, would you both like to introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit more about what you do?
Sure, thanks so much, Nicole. So my name is Caroline Grant, and I am the schools lead for the British Council for Sub-Saharan Africa. I've been working for the British Council for over 20 years in various countries across Sub-Saharan Africa. Some of these countries include Nigeria, Senegal, Ethiopia, South Africa, Botswana, and Lesotho. And I am really passionate about education. I am a teacher, originally an English teacher. And in my last 15 or so years, I've been working with ministries of education, designing large-scale teacher development programs. It's an absolute pleasure to be with you here today, Nicole and Chakoti, and to all the colleagues who are listening in. Over to you, Chakoti.
Thank you very much, Caroline. So my name is Chikodi Onyemerela. I am the acting country director for the British Council, overseeing the work we do in Ghana and Cameroon. So thank you very much for having me.
Thanks, Caroline and Chakoti. So my first question for you is, can you tell us a little bit more about the mission of British Council?
Right. Thank you very much, Nicole. So the British Council build connections, understanding, and trust between people in the United Kingdom and other countries where we have our presence. We do work in the arts and culture, education, and the English language. We work in two ways, basically. Directly with individuals, to transform their lives, and with governments and partners, to make a bigger difference for the longer term, creating benefits for millions of people all around the world. We help young people to gain the skills, confidence, and connections they are looking for, to realize their potentials and to participate in strong and inclusive communities. We support them to learn English, to get high quality education, and to get internationally recognized qualifications. Our work in the arts and culture stimulates creative expressions and exchanges and nurture creative enterprises within arts, arts, culture, and then within the value chain of these creative industries. We are on ground in 19 countries in sub-Saharan Africa, delivering impact across these listed areas. And in the last 3 years, we also added additional 6 countries, working with local institutions and partners on the ground. We have been working in partnership with ministries of education across sub-Saharan Africa for well over 80 years, to design and deliver impactful education programs that meet the needs of policymakers, teacher educators, head teachers, and of course the learners. Skills for Success program, fit perfectly with our mission because digital skills and writing factually are essential for young Africans, to realize their potential, as I said earlier, and then to power economies of Africa and to be competitive, obviously, for the 21st century, which has its own challenges as well. Media and information literacy competencies are crucial, for ensuring quality and inclusiveness of learning and teaching, and vital for the success of of young people and for lifelong learning as well. Thank you very much, and that's why I stop for that.
Thanks, Chakoti. I have a couple of follow-up questions, if that's okay. So
Yes.
I know that British Council has primarily focused on English language learning through its mission. But can you tell me a little bit more about how you all support local language learning and how that factors into the collaboration that we're going to be working on together?
Yeah, so as I said, the three pillars we have is English language, of course, that was one of the core pillars, and education, and as well as arts and culture. So we recognize the uniqueness of each of the countries we are. Each country have their own language policy. Most part of Africa, it's usually language of immediate environment or language of mother tongue from P1 to P4, then transition to English medium. So the British Council recognizes, despite the fact that our core focus, one of our pillars is English language. We recognize the role of local language and then mother tongue as well. So this is, incorporated in the course of our program designs and then working with the ministries of education across the country. As part of the, Skills for Success program, we obviously want to work with the locals, both in the development of the materials and then also in the delivery of the trainings as well. We've been engaging with officials of Ghana Tertiary Education Commission and as well as the Ministries of Education and the NACAN, National Agency for Curriculum and Assessment, in developing, the content of this, the modules of this program, and as well using them in the course of the delivery of the program and the measurement as well.
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, one more follow-up question. I know I'm hitting you with a lot of follow-up questions, but I think it's really interesting for our community to hear from you from the British Council, because you've been working with ministries of education for such a long time. And so I wonder if you can say a little bit more about how long it takes to build that kind of relationship with a Ministry of Education, and how important is it to the work that you do? I don't know if either of you want to take that. That's fine. Yeah.
Good. So, as I said, we've been on ground for over 80 years, and then within this length of stretched period of time, we've been engaging with officials of the Ministry of Education, both in Ghana and the rest of the countries in Africa, across the whole spectrum of our program. So it's a consistent relationship that has endured over time, both from the point of view of building the capacity of teachers to be able to adopt pedagogical approaches that are responsive and inclusive as well, and then also in shaping the curriculum of the countries where we have our presence. And then more importantly also is to shape, strengthen the system and policy engagement. So the relationship has endured over many years. It has, it's multifaceted, as I said, both from the point of view of policy, from the point of view of professional development, and then in partnership, cross-border partnership. It is significant, for the Skills for Success program, because if we don't get the buy-in of the Ministry of Education and alongside National Council for Curriculum and Assessment, and as well as institutions of the government that is involved in the oversight of the colleges of education, the sustainability of the program will be on a shaky ground. But the good thing about the Skills for Success at the moment is that both the minister himself, for Ghana, where we are, initializing this program, has already been briefed, and then obviously supportive. The deputy minister, as well as the chief executive for Ghana Tertiary Education Commission and the National Council for Curriculum and Assessment. So across the value chain of the education system in Ghana, they have bought into the Skills for Success program because they see the obvious need for it, particularly in this age and time we are in, and that is significant for the sustainability of the program going forward.
Great, thank you for that. I think it's really interesting for our community to hear about how important it is for sustainability to have a very good relationship with the Ministry of Education, and that relationship takes time to build and a lot of effort. So thanks for sharing that. So my next question for you is, how is the mission of the British Council aligned with the Wikimedia movement?
Oh, thanks, Nicole. I'll give that one a go. I think as you know, we've been, it's taken us quite a long time to kind of reach this point of this exciting program. And again, I think the time has been well spent in terms of getting a sort of a deeper understanding of what we're each trying to achieve. And I think what we've come out of it is that we can see that we are really aligned on media and information literacy skills and the importance of making those available to everybody. And I think that's what we found particularly exciting about the Wikimedia Foundation, is how inclusive it is, and that anybody can join the community, that it's a platform for knowledge for all, I think. And as we well know, that knowledge, particularly online knowledge, is not accessible for the majority of people across the continent. So I think that where we aligned here is that we both passionately believe that in education for all, online education for all, this incredible resource, that the internet provides. And of course, the Wikipedia being, the kind of almost like, the online encyclopedia. Am I right to say that? And yet it's not accessible for the majority of people across the continent. With our presence on the ground for over 80 years, our relationships with all the key actors in the education systems, we believe that we can actually work together with you, actually make that knowledge accessible to many more teachers and learners across the continent. And I think this is what is key in this program. I think what was also interesting for us and exciting is the fact that you're reading Wikipedia in the classroom program that you've piloted in 3 countries already, Morocco, Bolivia, and the Philippines, has been designed in alignment with the UNESCO Media and Information Literacy Framework competencies. And I think that's also a point of convergence for us, because we also believe in that framework too. And then thirdly, I think the notion and that content creation should actually be equally created between the global south and the global north. And I think this is something that we feel very, very strongly and passionately about. And I think that together we can actually contribute to changing the imbalance that exists with knowledge being created primarily through the global north. And we feel that through this program, we can make a contribution to changing that balance. And I think that by working at pre-service level with teacher educators, with colleges of education, with universities, we've got essentially the sort of the gatekeepers to knowledge in these countries in sub-Saharan Africa. And we're working with people who can help us in that mission to change the knowledge creation imbalance.
Yeah, that's exactly, part of one of the pillars of the Wikimedia movement strategy, which is around knowledge equity, which says, this is like not verbatim, but that we will shift the power imbalances around who's able to actually like be a knowledge producer. And I think that's so important in education, not only so that people have access to information, but that the information they have access to is more reflective of the actual world that we live in, and not the vision of like a few people in like a particular place of like most of the time a particular gender, right? Like the knowledge that we have had access to for so long has had such a very narrow kind of lens, and like widening the lens is beneficial to everyone. And being able to think critically about information is a huge part of being able to shift the dynamic around knowledge production. And I think that's what we try to do with Reading Wikipedia in the classroom and how it relates to the Skills for Success initiative. Just because people, I don't think, are quite aware of this program because we haven't really announced it yet. we've just like kind of reached an agreement. Maybe we can summarize like what this project aims to do in Ghana. Who would like to take? I mean, I can say from our perspective, it's taking Reading Wikipedia in the classroom, marrying it with British Council's expertise and training around academic writing, and using that in pre-service teacher education to help teachers better teach writing skills, but also understand how they can use Wikipedia as a pedagogical tool. Is that a good
Great.
point?
I think that's a great summary. I'm going to say a few things, and then I'd love Chikodi to chime in as well with his view. So that is a great summary, Nicole. And I think in addition to that, I think that we want to inculcate a better understanding and use of online media and resources. So including Wikipedia, but other sources as well. And also, I think identifying and navigating misinformation and fake news, which we know is probably one of the biggest plagues of our times. Mm-hmm. I think engaging and having an active voice in the media and information literacy space. And then, of course, this improved factual writing skills or academic writing is something that I personally, as an English teacher, feel extremely passionate about. It is to be able to write clearly, concisely is such an incredibly powerful tool, I think. And I think that so many young learners, so many people actually miss out on actually being taught how to write clearly and concisely, and that's a reason why they also left out of being content creators. So I think that's also really key. I also feel that we want to make sure that at least 50% of the participants on this program are women and girls. And so there's going to be a very strong focus in the design of the program to make sure that more women and girls are involved, and also to encourage more girls to go into ed techs, to take STEM subjects. So that's also really important for us. So over to Chikodi for any other additional comments.
Yeah, Caroline, I think you completely get it. I mean, the most significant as well in terms of the contribution of the program is the fact that teachers are able to contribute contextualized content within the digital space. Teachers are now well equipped with that level of confidence to write factually that contributes to for instance Ghana-centric content within the digital space, which really is significant to us. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, thank you for that. So this project is our first collaboration with the British Council, and we've been talking for like 4 years, something like this, to find the right fit. And I think that this program it's really like the best of both worlds, because you have the deep connections and relationships with the ministries of education in order to work at the scale with pre-service teacher education, which is a little bit harder to do than like an in-service training where you can kind of just like Reading Wikipedia in the classroom. We've been mostly doing it in service. So this will kind of be the first time we're seeing how it applies to pre-service teacher training, and it will be interesting, I think, to follow along, for a few years to see like how teachers are actually able to use that, incorporate it into their teaching practice as like new teachers, and then compare it to like how teachers who have like been teaching for 20 years are incorporating it into their teaching practice. So I think that's really interesting, and I think it benefits the Wikimedia movement on both ends. Like, we need people who understand media and information literacy, how to identify, a good source of information, how to decide whether or not it actually belongs in an encyclopedia, and to fight for knowledge that should belong in an encyclopedia that hasn't been included thus far, and then to have the skills to write those articles later, right? So while reading Wikipedia in the classroom doesn't necessarily touch on editing Wikipedia, like it does a little bit, just to like give people a sense of like what is editing and how do you start. But we don't teach people how to edit. We teach people how to understand how Wikipedia works. Or not people, teachers. We teach teachers how to understand how Wikipedia works so that they're not against it, and so that they can incorporate it into their teaching practice as a tool to teach media and information literacy. But the next step beyond that is being able to write on Wikipedia and close those knowledge gaps and have a voice and be content creators. So I think that this program kind of does both of those things really well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the fact that the entry point is also from the colleges of education, as you rightly alluded, many teachers, started the practice before the preponderance of digital, digital content, digital resources. So to them, digital is a new thing. What the program is also contributing is that teachers are coming out of the College of Education imbued with these skills. So it's a natural domain, for teachers coming out from training, going into the classrooms, and being vast, in use of digital tools and writing content for the media.
Yeah, thank you. Is there anything else either of you want to add before the final question?
I think just also to add, I think that, you were talking about, how long does it take to achieve these kind of impactful changes with ministries of education? And I think with, going through pre-service as an entry point, in my view, I think that you can probably achieve impact at scale slightly faster through pre-service because the numbers of institutions are smaller, for example, but at the same time, you are actually, embedding something at scale, embedding an education initiative at scale. And I think that's what's also quite exciting about working at pre-service. I also think that we can possibly in the future look at in-service as well. So I think the ideal scenario really is to do these programs kind of at both in-service and pre-service. Yeah, but as you said, this would be a great comparison with the work you've already done at in-service in your other countries, pilot countries. Thanks, Nicole.
Yeah, sorry, I just have like one more follow-up question. So we're doing this pilot in Ghana, but this is not this is just the beginning. It's not the end. So we've talked about, scaling this up regionally, but what's, maybe you can say a little bit more about like why Ghana is ready. Like why is it the first country we're working in?
Okay, so I think rather, Ghana is the preferred destination for, the pilot of the program for many reasons, but principally is the reform readiness of Ghana. The Ghana colleges of education and then the universities, the two universities we're using for the program and the others, have had successful programs, that, tended to support teachers in training with digital skills. So this is, a nice movement forward based on existing programs that just concluded in Ghana. So there are a couple of reform programs being implemented by government. So this is why we felt really that Ghana will be, the most suitable place to start this program because of the reform readiness of the country. And then the willingness of the stakeholders. As I said before, we've had the interesting engagement with both the minister, Dr. Duchum, and then the Deputy Minister of Education, Dr. John Pastor John Forjo, so we've got a very interesting relationship with them, including the new Director General of National Council for Curriculum and Assessment. And then we've also discussed this with our friend, at Ghana Education Service Commission, Professor Mankwa. So the whole ecosystem is all set. In fact, when the program was initially introduced to Professor Salifu, who is the Director General of Ghana Tertiary Education Commission, he was quite excited, and then provided more input, increase the number of sample or institution that will be part of the pilot, because he felt that this is what is needed at this point in time. We may not get that level of commitment, in some. I'm not saying the other countries are not making their own effort, but Ghana showed a clear indication of reform readiness for a program of this nature.
Yeah, that's great. And I think it's also really well timed in that we've been working on this other project in Ghana around just improving the searchability or like findability of articles related to the national curriculum in Ghana. And so I think like these two projects in Ghana really like support one another, and like one is kind of the foundation of the other one, because if you want to be able to think critically and read about articles in school, then they have to exist, right? The articles have to exist that are aligned with the school curriculum. So it's really great that the government in Ghana has been so motivated to be involved with the Wikimedia movement, and yeah, like you said, it's the readiness and the eagerness to, I don't know, meet the times that we're living in, I think. And I think that's exciting to see from a government perspective, like their willingness to participate in innovation when it's like it's such a kind of unknown entity, right? It's kind of like risk taking on their end, which is really cool.
Absolutely. I mean, there are at the moment, as you know, the program, the ultimate destination of it is the junior secondary, who are the ultimate beneficiaries of the program. And then the program is coming on, the Skills for Success program is coming on at the time where there is a major reform in the curriculum of the junior secondary school, which they call Common Core program. The major feature, one of the major features of the Common Core program is the integration of the 6 core competencies, as it's called, which one of them is digital literacy, creativity and imagination, communication and collaboration, so student leadership. So the Skills for Success chimed exactly the time when there must a couple of reforms going on, including the curriculum. So it sits in perfectly well.
Yeah, and just a quick one to add as well, Nicole and Chikodi. I think, also building on the work that we've been doing over many years through the Connecting Classrooms program. And again, I think that this has also contributed to the reform readiness of the government. But again, it's another kind of area of alignment, I think, between Wikimedia Foundation and the British Council, that we've actually both been interested and are interested in the core digital literacy skills.
Yeah, great. Okay, so the last question is, how can folks from our community follow this project? Is there any way they can support it or get involved? And anything else that you'd like to share with our community of what we call EduWiki volunteers?
So Caroline, let me start. Okay.
Okay, go. No, you go, Chikodi. I'll chime in later.
Okay, let me just start. Nicole, thank you very much for that question. I mean, it's very significant for us. So from our point of view, we think that the community and the allies of yours, whom of course we refer as Wikimedians, will be a resource to further disseminate the knowledge, which will be emanating from the Skills for Success program, to your community and even beyond. We also believe that the Wikimedians will contribute to training activities, for the teacher educators and student teachers to impact knowledge and experience of content, creating content and using Wikipedia as one of the tools for knowledge acquisition. And then we also believe that your communities and your community and allies will also be very handy and very useful, to mentor the educators, especially the student teachers and colleges of education, university lecturers that will be involved in the program, and then enable them, support them to engage with Wikipedia and to contribute to content, to the Wikipedia platform as well. So, Caroline, do you want to take on from there?
Thanks so much for that, Chakoti. So yeah, and then just something else, Nicole, that we were sort of wondering if this could be possible is, could we perhaps stimulate interest in the Skills for Success program by giving it exposure on Wikipedia? So perhaps we could co-create with the Ghana participants and the Wikimedians, perhaps a Wikipedia entry for Skills for Success as part of one of the media assets of the program. What do you think about that?
I think that it could definitely go on MetaWiki. When things go on Wikipedia, they have to follow some rules, right? So we have rules about notability, we have rules about conflict of interest. So, and also like the necessary backing of secondary sources of the content, right? So like I would say once the project is going and successful and has media attention, then there's probably folks from the community who could write an article about it. But it wouldn't be us writing the article about it because we have a conflict of interest. But we would definitely want to document the program on MetaWiki, which is our community, like that's why it's MetaWiki. It's like where our community organizes, and make sure that our community is aware of everything that's going on and can support as necessary. And definitely what Chakoti said, like what we would really love to see is like folks from this program being like welcomed with open arms into the Wikimedia community and like supported to be creators if that's what they want to be. And so I think that's where the community aspect is really important, because when you're a new editor, you know, and you've, through reading Wikipedia in the classroom, they'll learn how Wikipedia works. They'll like learn the rules and what it takes to create content on Wikipedia, but doing it is a whole nother thing. It's a lot scarier. It's a lot more intimidating than just learning how it works. And so I think that's where like a really supportive community comes into play, is like shepherding those people from like critical readers into article creators or editors.
Yeah. So I mean, maybe that one's for a few years down the line, as you say. Hopefully, we'll have a brilliant program in place, and people, the expert Wikimedians, will actually want to write about it. So we'll have that as our kind of ultimate goal, perhaps.
It's a good thing to strive towards, right? To have so much like positive impact in like secondary sources describing your project, that it can have its own Wikipedia article.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And just one other area I think that we would be looking to is your experience from monitoring and evaluating the pilots, the Reading Wikipedia pilots. So any tools that you can share, or anybody from your community who was involved in the monitoring and evaluation, we'd actually love to work closely with them on monitoring and evaluating this program as well.
Yeah, that's definitely important to us. And so we have on my team Vasanti, who supported us to do all of the monitoring and evaluating of Reading Wikipedia in the classroom. So we have developed some tools, but obviously those were for in-service training. So we would definitely need to adapt them. And we just finished our first cohort of training of trainers. So there will be some new projects coming out from that, where people will have adapted the monitoring and evaluation tools to different contexts. So I think we'll be able to learn from them as well, like what kind of adaptations are useful and helpful. And that will help us to support the team at British Council to adapt the tools for the Skills for Success program. But we are just as enthusiastic about, we're kind of like super nerds about evaluation. So we love to like hear about other people who are also super nerds about evaluation.
Great. And then you just picking up on what you were saying about you've just trained another cohort. Is that of trainers? Is that including in Ghana?
If I'm remembering correctly, we have one person who just received a certificate in Ghana. So there is one that you'll be able to work with, and we're accepting the second cohort now. We closed applications on the 20th of February, and I believe there were some applicants from Ghana. So hopefully there will be more. And then I'll say like one other thing that the team is considering as like a future way of supporting training of trainers is kind of like on-demand ad hoc training as necessary when there are partners who have like, because we can only accept 25 people into each cohort. That's like the capacity we have. So if there's like a Ministry of Education that wants to train like 10 trainers so that they can train like all of the teachers in the country, those are the types of things that we would like to do kind of ad hoc on demand, but like our capacity is still limited to those. So for example, maybe this could be one of those cases where, you know, we have this project with British Council, we can do an ad hoc on demand training for, you know, however many trainers we need to work in these institutions that we're working in for Skills for Success. Ministry of Education in Colombia is also thinking about it. So there is like some use cases for that. So I think that's like one way we're thinking of how we scale the training of trainers as well, because the demand is so high, and we really don't have the capacity to accept more than like 25 per cohort, and we can do 2 cohorts a year. So so we have to kind of consider other ways that we can do more large scale trainings. And so I think that could be something that we work together on to pilot and see like how it works for this program, and then maybe we would like incorporate that into our planning to scale.
Great, that sounds really exciting. I'm looking forward to that.
Great. Well, thank you for this really nice conversation. I think that we have learned, we've learned a lot about your work and about the project. And we can, once we have things more organized, maybe we can work together on creating like a meta page where the community can read about that. And then I can link that in this video once we publish it. And so folks can follow along. But just like so everyone at home knows, this is the very beginning. So like be patient. This is the beginning, and you will definitely find out more soon. All right, well, thank you. I am going to stop recording.
Thanks, Nicole.
Thank you very much, Nicole. Really appreciate it.